Another cook quietly accepted a small piece that Khepri offered. The moment she tasted it, her eyes filled with tears. "It tastes like home," she murmured. Others gathered around. One remembered the bread his grandmother baked every flood season. Another thought of a wife he had buried years before. A kitchen maid smiled through her tears as memories of peaceful evenings with her family returned to her heart. No one spoke loudly. There was something almost sacred about the silence that followed. Khepri smiled shyly. "I only hoped it would fill your stomachs." An elderly cook chuckled softly. "My boy," he broke off another piece, "you have filled something far emptier than that." Just then, a familiar voice rose above the quiet. "Khepri?" He froze. Very few people knew his name inside the palace. Slowly he turned. Standing only a few steps away was a woman he had not seen in many months. Her hair was touched with silver now, yet her warm smile had not changed. "Mother!" Before another word could be spoken, they hurried into each other's embrace. For a long moment, neither wished to let go. His mother pulled back first, gently cupping his face in her hands. "You've grown thinner," Khepri laughed. "Grandmother says exactly the opposite." She smiled through misty eyes. "What are you doing in the royal kitchens?" Khepri explained everything. The royal decree, the call for skilled cooks throughout the kingdom, and the opportunity to compete in the 3 dishes of the Nile, the culinary contest that would honor the visiting kingdoms during the treaty banquet. "The victors," he said, "will receive gold from Pharaoh, fertile land beside the Nile, and the honor of serving among the royal kitchens." His mother's smile slowly faded. "Khepri," he noticed a concern in her eyes. "What is it?" She lowered her voice. "You must understand what this competition truly is." She glanced around before continuing. "This banquet is more than a feast. It is the pride of the Kingdom of Kemet. If a cook fails through carelessness, if the royal guests are dishonored, or if anyone brings disgrace upon the palace." She hesitated. "The punishment can be severe." Khepri remained calm. "I understand." She shook her head. "No, my son, I have served these kitchens long enough to know that success earns admiration." Her expression darkened. "But excellence," she looked around at the proud chefs working nearby, "often earns enemies." Khepri smiled reassuringly. "I did not come here to defeat anyone. I only came to cook." His mother reached out and squeezed his hand. "I pray everyone else feels the same." Night settled over the palace. Torches flickered along the towering stone walls as every cook assembled inside the largest kitchen hall. Conversations filled the room until the heavy doors opened. The royal kitchen master entered. At once, silence fell. He slowly unrolled a long scroll bearing Pharaoh's royal seal. "By command of His Majesty," he announced, his voice echoing through the hall, "5 lead chefs have been chosen to prepare the 3 dishes of the Nile for the treaty banquet. Each shall command 4 assistants. Together, they will represent the honor of the royal kitchens before kings, princes, and ambassadors from every allied nation." Every cook held their breath. One by one, the names were read. Each announcement was met with applause. Then came the 5th and final name, Khepri, grandson of Merit. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Several noble chefs stared in disbelief. "A village cook? He has served here for 1 day. This must be some mistake." The royal kitchen master rolled up the scroll without another word. "The decision is final." Around the hall, congratulations mixed with whispers of resentment. Some accepted the judgment, others did not. Hidden among the crowd, one noble chef watched Khepri with cold, calculating eyes, his lips curled into the faintest smile, not one of admiration, but of envy. Khepri knew nothing of the hatred beginning to gather around him, nor did he know that while jealous rivals had already begun plotting his downfall, fate was preparing an even greater trial, one that would not threaten his career, but his heart. Morning sunlight spilled through the towering columns of the royal palace, painting the polished stone floors with bands of gold. The 5-day treaty festival had finally arrived. From every corner of the Kingdom of Kemet, nobles, merchants, scholars, generals, and foreign dignitaries had gathered within the capital. The streets outside overflowed with decorated wagons, musicians, dancers, storytellers, and traders displaying treasures brought from distant lands. Inside the palace, however, the mood was far quieter. Princess Anippe stood alone upon her balcony, watching the banners flutter gently in the morning breeze. To everyone below, the festival marked the beginning of celebration. To her, it marked the beginning of goodbye. A soft knock echoed against her chamber doors. "Your Highness," one of her attendants said respectfully. "His Majesty requests your presence." Anippe closed her eyes for a brief moment. "I am coming." She already knew what this meeting would be about. Pharaoh Neferkari's private audience chamber overlooked the Nile itself. Unlike the grand throne room, this chamber was simple. Ancient maps covered one wall. Shelves filled with scrolls lined another. A large cedar table stood near the windows, where reports from every province of Kemet lay neatly arranged. Neferkari was studying one of those reports when his daughter entered. He looked up immediately. For a moment, he smiled. Not as Pharaoh, but as a father. "You've grown quieter these past few weeks." Anippe forced a faint smile. "I suppose I have." He dismissed every servant with a single gesture. The heavy doors closed behind them. Silence settled over the chamber. Neferkari slowly walked toward the window overlooking the river. "When you were little," he said softly, "you used to ask why the Nile never chose a different path." Anippe remembered. "I thought it looked trapped." "And do you remember what I told you?" She nodded. "You said the river follows its path because millions depend upon it." The pharaoh smiled sadly. "Even then, you understood more than most adults." He turned to face her. "The time has come." Those 4 words struck her harder than she had expected. "The treaty?" she whispered. "The treaty." He walked toward the great map spread across the table. "Our eastern neighbors have doubled their harvests over the past decade. Their caravans now control the largest trade routes beyond our borders." His finger traced the line separating the 2 kingdoms. "If peace remains between us, both nations will prosper." He looked at his daughter with gentle eyes. "The council has agreed to extend the treaty for 20 years. He nodded. "For 20 years." She lowered her gaze. "And the marriage?" Neferkari's silence answered before his words ever could. "It remains part of the agreement." The room became unbearably still. Anippe clasped her hands tightly together. "So," she struggled to steady her voice, "my life has already been decided." The pharaoh walked closer. "No, you still have a choice." Hope flickered across her face. "You may choose to carry this burden with dignity." His voice softened, "or with resentment." The hope disappeared. For several moments, neither spoke. Then, "There is someone." Neferkari blinked. "What did you say?" "There is someone I love." The words hung between them, like a secret finally set free. The pharaoh stared at his daughter, not with anger, but with surprise. "You have given your heart to someone?" She nodded. "I have." "Who is he?" Anippe hesitated. If she spoke Khepri's name, if her father investigated, everything could be taken from him. So she quietly answered, "He is a good man." Neferkari smiled sadly. "I do not doubt that. He is kind. I believe you. He works harder than anyone I have ever known." The pharaoh's smile slowly faded. "But he is not a prince." She lowered her head. "No. He is not a noble." "No." Silence settled once more. Finally, Neferkari walked to his daughter and gently lifted her chin. "If I were only your father." His voice carried a sorrow she had never heard before. "My answer would be very different." A tear rolled down Anippe's cheek. "But I am Pharaoh." He looked beyond the palace windows toward the vast kingdom stretching along the Nile. "Every decision I make is measured against the lives of thousands." He paused. "A single unhappy marriage," his voice trembled almost imperceptibly, "may spare countless mothers from burying their sons." Anippe's tears came freely now. "I know my duty. I have always known." She swallowed painfully. "But knowing does not make it hurt less." Neferkari stepped forward and embraced his daughter. For a long while, neither of them spoke. At last he whispered, "History will remember me as a ruler." His arms tightened gently around her. "But I will remember today as the day I failed my daughter." Anippe closed her eyes. "No, father. You failed no one." She leaned against him one final time before quietly stepping away. As Princess of Kemet, she forced herself to smile through her tears. "I shall fulfill my duty." She bowed with perfect royal grace, then turned and left the chamber before her father could see her break. The moment Anippe reached the privacy of her own room, every ounce of composure vanished. She closed the doors behind her. The tears she had fought so desperately to contain finally spilled freely down her face. Her attendants remained silent. No words could comfort a heart already mourning a future that had not yet arrived. She walked slowly toward the window overlooking the distant Nile. Somewhere beyond the palace, beyond the bustling streets, beyond the endless fields, Khepri was here. She could feel it. So close, yet farther away than ever before. "I wanted to tell you," she whispered through quiet sobs. "I wanted you to know who I truly was." She rested her forehead against the cool stone window frame. "I wonder," a faint smile appeared through her tears. "Nyanin, if you still think of me." Far below, the great bronze horns of the palace sounded across the capital. The 5-day treaty festival had officially begun. The time for tears was over.